Yo, guys, what's up, and welcome back to the Marvelous Chats podcast. This is episode 79 of the cast. Tonight I'm joined by Hoffman, and we're going to be going through She Hulk, episode 8, episode 9, House of the Dragon, Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power, Andor, and we're going to be doing the Marvel Halloween special, Werewolf by Night. So without further ado, here's Hoffman.
Finto, what's up, my dude? How are you today?
Yo. I'm doing good, bro. How are you?
Are we really up to episode 9 of She-Hulk? Because I messed up on our thumbnail. I thought it was episode 8.
Yeah, no, this was episode 9. It's all good. It's all good.
Fooled everyone.
Yeah. Like I think there's, or maybe you're right. Maybe it is episode 8. Maybe I'm wrong.
I hope you are. I love being right.
I think I'm wrong. Yeah. Yeah. What's up? How are you? You doing good?
I'm good, man. I had a fun week. I've watched all these shows. I'm like shocked at how many shows we've had to watch throughout the week. You know, there's weeks where we like struggle to figure out what to talk about, and like we got like 5 shows going on right now, and I don't even know how you find time to watch like 5-hour-long shows or whatever. It's nuts.
Every week the list gets bigger, and you know there's like loads of stuff that I have on the backboard like wanting to watch, but there's so much new content coming out that I'm like busy nearly every night of the week. Like for me obviously Sunday nights over in the US, for you've got like House of the Dragon, you've got Rick and Morty, but for me, like those air when I'm in bed, so I have to watch them on Monday evening. So like usually Monday after work for me is House of the Dragon and Rick and Morty. Tuesday, I don't even know what's on Tuesday. I don't think there's anything on Tuesday. Start a new show on Tuesday or something. Then Wednesday you've got Andor. Thursday you've got She-Hulk. Friday this week we had Werewolf by Night. Like it's just insane, dude. There's like so much going on. And Rings of Power's on Friday too.
Yes, and I am not traditionally a TV watcher. Like I like to watch a movie here and there. You know, you got like one show going on every week that you like to watch, or you like binge watch a show for a whole day. That's like my normal stuff. So this idea that like I have to wait around for shows throughout the week, like I hate it. I detest it. This 5-show thing needs to stop very, very quickly.
I think it will, and to be honest, I think I might kind of miss it when it's gone. Like I love having new stuff to watch, obviously, but yeah, like you know, you're right. I think if you schedule it properly, it's not too impactful. I think if you like kind of skip some stuff and it starts building up, it's very hard to catch up. But for me, if I like have it in the calendar, like Mondays I do this, Tuesdays I do that, Wednesday this, you know, and I try and stay on top of it as quick as possible.
It's like a workout plan for your TV watching.
It is, bro. It is. You gotta. That's how serious we gotta be, bro. We're doing a podcast here. You gotta have it all. So, what was your, just before we kind of kick off, because we're gonna cover She-Hulk first, because I think for me personally, She-Hulk was probably my favorite content of the week, just because it was perfect in my opinion.
Yeah.
For the first time in the entire series, it was perfect. But what was your favorite content of the week out of everything?
I would probably say House of the Dragon. House of the Dragon, Hot D is just continuously blowing me away every week. It is one of the best shows I think I've ever watched on TV. And I think the caliber of like the acting and the cast and stuff is like almost putting it ahead of Game of Thrones for me. Like I am almost liking this more than Game of Thrones, and I don't know how. And I think it's just because like Game of Thrones season 1, like it was good and groundbreaking. But like if you go back and watch it, like it's just not as strong as like season 2 and 3 when it comes to like the like they really nailed stuff later in the seasons.
Yeah.
And this House of Dragons, like they hit the ground running, and I love the show. Like the actors and actresses, the grown-up versions of them are just like astounding.
Yeah. Oh, like dude, like it's I kind of last week when we were talking about House of D last week, I kind of looked on IMDb and I saw like the review. There's like 800 people who have seen it already. And like they gave it like a 9.4 or something stupid. Like, and I was like, wow, okay. So I knew something big was coming. And this week, I was only literally talking about Hot D before we went live with my girlfriend, and she literally checked IMDb, and the next episode, which is the one that airs tonight, 9.9 for the review ratings. Like, and I heard this last week. I think it was one of the scoopers on Twitter said that they had seen the show, seen episode 9. And said that it was potentially the best episode of Game of Thrones ever.
What?
Like, yeah. Like better than Red Wedding, better than Battle of the Bastards. Like literally the greatest episode of Game of Thrones ever. So I think what we're going to see tonight is going to be mind-blowing.
Yeah, I'm excited to see that. That's actually pretty crazy to think that it could be better than like Battle of the Bastards. Yeah. Or like the Siege of King's Landing, whatever, when all the boats were out there. Like with the green and stuff, whatever that was. Those were
Oh, that
incredible
was crazy.
episodes.
Yeah,
So
yeah, like
I'd be very shocked.
this season though, like you can feel it, like it's building to something insane. It really is, and I think we've got another time jump coming in this week's episode. So it'll be interesting to see because I think I saw a picture of the kid who got his eye fucked up.
Mhm.
There's a picture of him and he's in his like early, like maybe late teens, early 20s now in this next episode. So they're doing like another
Gotcha.
kind of 10-year jump. So
I definitely would like them to get to a point where they stop doing time jumps. I know that they're trying to tell a pretty like far-reaching story,
mm,
but there's like characters and actors and actresses that I get introduced to that I'm like, dude, I fucking love what they're doing, and they're gone.
yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah,
and they're
absolutely.
gone. We gotta move forward.
Yeah, true. Yeah, no, I'm excited to talk about it a little further later on in the show. But
Mhm.
for the moment, let's get into Daredevil. Um,
Daredevil.
yeah, give me your rating. What did you think of the episode in full?
Solid 9, man. They're just like a solid episode of TV, especially for She-Hulk. Like this is absolutely the best episode they've done. I think they've really captured like a good balance of like humor and action and everything they're trying to do. It feels like the most realized version of the show, and lo and behold, it's because they actually had like a courtroom scene that wasn't very well done. It was kind of cheesy and it made no sense, and probably any like legal scholar would be like, this doesn't even hold water at all. Uh, but it was the best I episode so far. I've enjoyed it. What about you?
I've watched it twice already.
Uh,
So like I literally watched it 2 days in a row, and yeah, man, like I think we talked about this before the show even aired. I think we were kind of, it was probably me saying this, but kind of given our hopes and dreams for the show. And I said, how good would it be if, the courtroom doors open up and it's Matt Murdock walking in to go against Jen. So like we got it. And I was just like, yes, this is what they have to do. And yeah, like you're probably right. Like the scene, the courtroom scene wasn't anything groundbreaking. It wasn't like as good as the Netflix stuff, but it felt like a courtroom scene. And I think that's all just being carried by Charlie Cox. Like it really was. He just made it feel like an actual court case and just showed how good he was and just like literally slapped the book shut straight away, just put them in their place, and it was like, see you later. And I just, everything about the episode I absolutely loved. I loved when they went to the bar and he orders the the appletini and everything, like, and it's just, he's such a cheeky bastard. And I just think it works, bro. Like Charlie can make it work. And there's so many people online giving the episode hate, and I just don't understand it at all. Like, if you've ever read a comic book, you know that like these characters aren't just one way. Like, there's definitely plenty of panels out there of Daredevil kind of joking around, and like there's stuff where like I've seen panels, like I don't really read too much Daredevil, but I've seen a lot of panels where like, he'd be like, oh my god, like he's trying to like type on a computer, he's like, oh my god, I'm blind, like that sort of shit, like, like just
yeah.
Tongue in cheek, like kind of humor, like, and like I don't think that like the Netflix Daredevil, and even like the Netflix Daredevil show, like there were parts where he was quite like kind of quirky and stuff, and it was like a bit of comedy in it too. So I just don't get where people's hate is coming from. I think even if this show was a 10, even if they brought in the fucking full Avengers into this show, I think people would still have a problem with it. I think people are just out there to get this show no matter what, you know. I don't get it, bro. I really don't.
Yeah, there's definitely a subset of the comic book community, and like through that extension for the TV shows and movies all based around it, where like all they want is like super serious, brooding type of content and entertainment, and they don't want anything else. They want everything that comes out to be written by Frank Miller, where it's all just a melodrama and there's nothing but angst. Daredevil definitely had humor in the Netflix show. They didn't have as much. You didn't really see Charlie Cox smiling like this as Daredevil.
Yeah.
But this is kind of a different Daredevil. I don't know how much they're going to go back and redo, or in terms of what's actually canon or what happened in between the last time we've seen him and now. But he's definitely lighter. He is a lighter Daredevil who feels better in terms of his personality, and I really enjoyed him. I thought him smiling so much underneath the mask was like kind of hilarious because he's got this like Daredevil mask and then like a huge beaming smile. I thought the relationship between him and Jennifer Walters in this was great. I think they had great chemistry on screen. I was a huge fan. And the only thing that my complaint would be compared to the Netflix show is it really showed how good the Netflix series was at like fight scenes, where this one had like so many like jump cuts and stuff that it kind of felt weird for a Daredevil fight scene to have jump cuts during the fight, where Daredevil's Netflix show is all about like long, very well choreographed fight scenes that like were really at the time, kind of groundbreaking for TV and just blew you away. It's what made the show so popular.
Yeah.
That was like my only complaint about this versus the Daredevil show.
I actually really loved like his acrobatics and stuff like that, because in the comics, like, he is shown to be kind of as agile and acrobatic as like Spider-Man. Like, like
Yeah.
he can swing around New York City with Spider-Man. Like, so I thought that was really well kind of portrayed, and I loved all the flipping and everything, and like, where She-Hulk breaks the ground and you think he's going to fall through, but he just grabs on and does the flip around and all. I was like, holy shit, this is amazing. I
Yeah.
loved it. And then he's like, my ass remains unkicked and stuff, and he's just throwing a bit of comedy. I loved it. Loved every minute of it. And then, yeah, I don't know, bro. Like, I just thought that the whole team up was great. I loved how they brought. Did you notice that they brought in the theme music to the Netflix show? And he's like, "I'm Daredevil," and she's like, "What?" Like, like, hasn't even heard of him. But
Yeah.
like, I don't know, bro. The way I kind of see it is like, the dude's in like LA or whatever, and he's on his holidays and he's getting some new suits and all. Life is good. Like, why wouldn't he be in a good mood? And then he gets to like smash a superhero and fucking head off back to New York. Like, I think like, vacation successful. Like, I don't understand why people are like, oh, I can't believe what they've done. I can't relate to Daredevil now because he's had sex. It's like, did you watch the Netflix show? He fucking bangs everybody in that show. Like, you know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
like,
right.
what are you talking about? Like, maybe you didn't see an actual scene, but like, it's implied that he bangs Claire. It's implied that he bangs Karen. It's implied that he's probably banging Elektra when she comes back as well. Like, so
Mhm.
it's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, I think the only thing that was kind of absurd when it comes to sleep was like him sleeping with her was like the walk of shame. Like, that's kind of out of character. Like, Daredevil just like walking around without his boots on in the middle of the day. That felt like, okay, that's a little tongue in cheek, but still
Yeah.
funny. Still something you would
It ma-
see in a panel of a comic book. Absolutely.
yeah, it made me laugh. I thought like, yeah, fair enough. Like,
Yeah.
I'm happy enough with it.
I also thought the end scene with the She-Hulk at the conference or the award ceremony
Gala, yeah.
was really, really great. They show her finally like hulking out and getting rage, which, was her big deal from the very beginning of the show, was like, don't, controlling your rage. That was a lesson that Bruce said she was gonna have to learn. And she just like lost her shit.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought it was great. She made a reference to like a Red Hulk as well. And what do you think of the friend? Do you think that she's like evil? Like, I know they were saying, like, I thought that was going to happen where, where she's kind of doing the fourth wall break and she's like, it feels like there's going to be a big twist now. And I thought, like, because I see a lot of people talking about her friend online who, people are saying maybe she's like Mephisto or some bollocks. They always talk about Mephisto, but like, there's been scenes where she's looked at the camera and all this stuff, and I don't know, maybe she's involved in something. But yeah, what do you think?
I think the friend's clean, but there's definitely got to be someone. Like, the friend doesn't strike me as somebody they would make turn, just because every superhero needs that like fun sidekick from their real life, I guess.
Yeah,
But there's definitely going to be somebody in her circle who kind of backstabs her, whether it's that one lawyer friend or lawyer lady that she kind of goes up against, or the male lawyer from the very beginning who like showed her where to take a poop, I guess.
yeah,
Like, one of those characters definitely is going to have to twist for it to be interesting. Because once again, here we are at the very end of a Marvel show, going into the last episodes, not having any clue who the villain is, not having any clue who we're supposed to be rooting against. It's just kind of this like group that they loosely have named that is going up against her, and it's taken away from it. So they're gonna have to throw a big twist in there for you to actually care about it, I think.
dude, I just don't get how they don't develop the stories, especially when they know that the episodes are going to be a lot shorter. So, I know it says it's like a 9 episode series, so people think like, oh yeah, there's going to be plenty of time. Let's do two or three slow down episodes in the middle. But it's like, like, what's really going on here? Like, because it's taken 8 episodes for them to actually give us the kind of where the story's going to end or whatever. And I just feel like it's they've got what, 25, 30 minutes at tops, I'd say 30 minutes to kind of wrap up the show.
Mhm.
What do you think is going to happen? Like, where do you think it goes?
I think that it just ends with her like kind of grabbing some of the characters who we've already seen who are part of that group, kind of the guys who went on a date with her, that they kind of like, she beats him up or something, and then we get a reveal of like who the actual villain is, who we're going to be seeing in like a season 2 or something.
Yeah, because
Because it's kind of like,
remember when your man Todd went out the date? It's like, oh, like, is your skin like, can you like, would vibranium stab you and stuff? And she's like, well, I don't know. And then like in this episode, we find out he's like showed the picture of her with he's got the spear. like the Wakandic spear. He's like
Yeah.
Wakanda forever. I thought that was great. And she's
Yeah,
like,
that
yeah,
scene was
that makes me comfortable. That makes me
so
feel
weird, bro. So weird.
oh, it's fucking hilarious, dude. Absolutely hilarious. Yeah, no, I'm excited to see what happens at the end. I wonder, like, is something? Are we gonna get Abomination back? Is he gonna actually turn
Mm.
again, or what's actually gonna happen? And I'm curious to see what happens there. But look, I gotta say, like, the first, like, I've been kind of like reflecting on the entire series, and I would call myself a fan of the first 4 episodes. I thought the first 4 episodes, first 3 were very good. The fourth one was goofy, but the one with the magician,
Mm-hmm.
um, and like Wong was in that one, and he was using like sorcerers like powers, like or whatever from Carmitage and all. I thought that was a cool episode, but it was a bit cheesy, so I can understand why people wouldn't like it. The guy who plays the magician, he's like in Entourage. He plays Billy Walsh in Entourage. Have you ever watched that? So like I love that show, and I was like, oh my god, it's Billy Walsh. I haven't seen him in anything in years. Like so, I like that episode myself. But like 5 and 6, or maybe even 5, 6, and 7 were just really poor, like really bad.
Yeah.
And
No,
eight was god tier in my opinion, god tier. Like the even we got like a Daredevil fight, like a hallway scene. They gave us an actual like a half a hallway scene, which
right.
was great. It was just I don't know, bro. Like I can't find any fault with this episode.
Yeah, this episode was like good, but I would say the rest of the series is just a show that really doesn't know what it is. It feels like it's just a show of people who had like these like cool little ideas about what they could do with the character and put them together, but there's no like overarching purpose to all of that. Like if you ask me what the storyline's been for this entire series, it feels like a handful of guys trying to get her blood, but they never really like focus on that or give you an explanation about why or go any more in depth than just like naming this ambiguous group.
Yeah.
I think that has really hurt the show. I've not been a fan of much of it. I think the writing's been pretty terrible all around. And until this last episode, like I just didn't care about anything. I'm like nothing mattered. There's no point to anything. It's been fun to have the cameos and stuff, but uh, what was the point of all of it? I think back and just is it just to give a She-Hulk? Like sure, but the thing about the MCU is they always give you shows that introduce movies that introduce characters but give you a good reason why we're caring about that character. And I just don't care about She-Hulk. I don't care about Jennifer Walters. They haven't done that work. No matter what happens to her, it just doesn't matter to me. That's not good.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I wonder what's going to happen in the last episode. Like, I wonder, is she going to have to kind of, retire from her job now that she's kind of destroyed the place? And is she going to have to actually go off and be a superhero? Like, maybe she moves to New York, like to go, like, things talk about Hell's Kitchen and stuff like that. Maybe she heads to New York and maybe she shows up in his show or something, or like heads out east to try and join the Avengers or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Definitely setting up for whatever's going to happen in the next Hulk movie. She'll probably be part of that.
Mhm.
I'd be down for her to be in the Daredevil show because I think I think the actress is just fun. Like I love seeing the normal version of the actress. Like it's very charming. She's great. So I would like more of that. I like that they actually did a lot more with her just as her normal self instead of just being completely in She-Hulk, because I feel like the budget on the She-Hulk show has taken a nosedive, and they fixed like the first couple episodes how the CGI looked, but like the CGI in these last episodes, she just looks like a computer generated character, which she is, but it just looks so cheesy. Like it feels really bad.
Yeah, they don't even have her morph on screen anymore. Have you noticed that? Like they do like cutaways, and then when she comes back, she's Jen again. Like, or they show like the very last like half a second of her turning back, so like it's like kind of just her face turned green, and she's kind of shrinking a tiny bit more. So you can really tell that they haven't had the budget. And I think doing a movie with her, or her showing up in like Captain America 4 or something like that, where they've got like a movie budget, I think would be great.
Yeah,
it'd be a lot better. Like, I presume you'd see a lot better character. But I think this week the CGI didn't really bother me at all. This week I thought it was fine. It like this week was good, and I think they put a lot more, or they probably like divided up the budget for each episode. And I would say they put a lot of the budget into this episode because they knew they were getting Charlie Cox, and it was going to be Daredevil versus She-Hulk, and then the whole hallway scene, everything that went on in the episode, I think probably required a lot of budget for them.
Yeah, true.
Yeah,
and I think something that really worked about this episode was finally giving her a character who she kind of butts heads with, but is on the same side. Every one of her friends in the show, everyone that's been on her side, they're all like rah rah, like Jen and like, you know, girl power, do whatever you want. And like
Yeah.
whatever you're doing is good. And I think that Daredevil coming up and being like, you need to like challenge yourself and do more and be different and, you know, use this to your advantage and not just be kind of a celebrity or whatever it is, really worked, because I think one of the things that made Captain America a more interesting character was when he had, Black Panther enter his movies
Mhm.
and it was challenging his like just kind of, hey, I'm just gonna be Captain America, everything's great, you know. And then Black Panther comes in and T'Challa challenges him to like be different and be like, hey man, like you got to do more with this. Like you can't just be a shill and somebody who
Yeah.
just does whatever they want you to.
Facts. And just bringing up Captain America, the line that Matt says in the courtroom about the Sokovia Accords being redacted or whatever,
Yeah.
that was cool. That was cool. I saw some funny memes where it was like, you know, the like Chris Evans videos where he's like, you know, for the school tapes where he's like, so you got sent to detention, or it's like, so I was right about the Sokovia Accords the whole time. I was just like, brilliant. I love that.
Yeah.
Like how quick they come out with the memes. It's just so funny, dude.
Yeah, Steve Rogers is best character in the MC, man.
Fact.
Yeah.
I fully agree. He's sorely missed by me.
Yeah.
I went back. I went back. I rewatched Civil War. Rewatched in the Infinity War and Endgame, and like I'm looking at Steve Rogers. I'm like, this guy is the best thing to ever be in the MCU, and I'm so sad that he's gone. It's heartbreaking for me.
I am too. And like he's like, look at, I've been reading the Sentinel of Liberty comic book run right now. Look at this cover of this dude. Like he's just the greatest, man.
Yeah,
like
that's epic, dude.
What a cover. And he's still in this. He's that same character that's in the MCU. I would say he's probably the most one-to-one transfer from the comic books over to the big screen.
Yeah,
in terms of his personality and like what his character actually like is trying to do. And it's just fucking so good.
Yeah, I think everybody talks about like RDJ being like the greatest casting of all time for comic books, but I'm like, Chris Evans fucking killed it, dude.
Yes.
Like killed it.
Absolutely.
I can't imagine anybody else in that role. Like, you know, John Krasinski was very close to getting it.
He's too tall and skinny.
Yeah, well, you know, I suppose they could jack him up, but yeah, I don't know. I can't picture anybody else in the role other than our boy Chris Evans, you know?
Yeah. I agree.
Werewolf by Night.
Oh my God. All right. Werewolf by Night might be one of my favorite MCU entertainment things ever made. I thought it was fucking fantastic from start to finish. I almost wish that all of these TV series they do for the MCU were just like 1 hour long, short, great movies like this, because I thought this thing had a great story and characters from the very beginning until the end. Like it never died down. It always had forward momentum. It always had something to keep you intrigued.
Yeah.
The style choice to do like an actual old horror movie where it's actually filmed like it's in the 1950s and they're like doing 1950 tropes for those old school, you know, universal monster type of horror movies. Because I'm a big fan of those. Dude, Werewolf by Night is it. I've watched it twice now and I love it.
Yeah,
fantastic.
I need to watch it again. I really did enjoy it. I was kind of watching it thinking to myself that there was parts of it that kind of confused me a little bit, because I was like, you know, when the dudes, like the guards came in and they were holding like the poles that looked like they were like zappers or whatever, I was like, that looks kind of modern tech. Like I'm like, but like I felt like it was in like the 50s or something. I'm like, I'm kind of confused to the timeline here. And then obviously when like Elsa gets the bloodstone at the end, then you see the color coming back in. I was like, that is fucking epic. Like, and then it turns out that like they're in the modern day or whatever the whole time. I'm like, okay, that's fucking sweet. I love it. Yeah. No, it was very clever. It was very well done. Man Thing was great. Like,
dude,
straight off the page. Like it was perfect. Really, really perfect. Like I haven't read him in comics before. But like I was looking at some comparisons to the comics and I'm like, wow, they literally did a 1-for-1 here. Like it's perfect.
Yeah, I agree. That's like one of the best CGIs they've done for a character. I know he's like, you know, didn't really move a lot, and I'm sure they could have done it better. But for the TV show and their budget, I thought he was great. I think, you know, probably being in black and white helped out a lot with that. But even at the end, once everything was color, I thought that scene was hilarious with him and Jack Russell, who I think is the guy's name.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish they would do more of this. This type of thing, this MCU special presentation type of deal, needs to be more of a thing. I love that it's part of the MCU,
Mhm.
and I love that it felt like it was a completely different part of it that we've never even been to. It didn't feel like an MCU thing while you're watching it, really. But now that's part of the universe. Like I'm so into having him come over into like Moon Knight or whatever it is. This
Yeah,
building out
dude.
that supernatural part of the MCU. Wonderful, dude. Wonderful. I wonder if I Knife killed it. They killed it.
I think they did, yeah. And like I was kind of sitting hoping to kind of maybe see like a Moon Knight or something show up, or like a Blade or something, because I thought it was in the past. I was like, that could have been really cool. But I wasn't disappointed at all. I was really happy with the way it went.
Mhm.
It was really really good, and I wasn't expecting it to be that good.
Yeah.
So yeah,
And
it was just very 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 nice surprise.
gives me hope for the gory side of the MCU going forward
A
because
lot of gore. There was a lot of gore, blood, like people getting like stabbed in the head and all. I was like, oh yeah. I was like, here we go.
was not expecting that. And maybe they were able to get away with a couple of things because it was like in black and white, so you're not actually showing blood, you're just showing like a dark liquid, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But body parts flying, was not expecting to see that stuff, and there it was.
That was
Uh,
the first that popped into my head right away. I thought to myself, "Oh my god, there's hope for the Punisher. There's hope for Daredevil. There's hope for Deadpool." I'm like,
yeah,
yes, because like if you think about it, like Deadpool 3, like is gonna have to have blood and like limbs flying and everything. Like, it has to, like
that's
Feige himself has said, like, we want to just continue on that story, continue those vibes, but bring it into the MCU. So like
mhm.
they have to be allowing all that stuff, and like the same with Punisher, same with Daredevil. Like these shows have got to be dark. They've got to be violent and like gritty and bloody and everything. Like that's they just have to, or they won't work properly. And like I was watching an interview. There was like a red carpet interview with Charlie Cox, and he was saying like, look, I don't mind. Like he's like, my show's going to be like 18 episodes, and look, if there is a bit of a kind of wit to this version of Matt Murdock, I think it's going to work because he can't be serious all the time. But he's like, there's definitely a serious side to him. Like Hell's Kitchen is a dark place, so I'm like, yes, yes, this is perfect. This is what I want to hear.
Mhm.
Yeah,
18 episodes, but they're all going to be like half-hour episodes. You good with that?
I think so. Like maybe they might be longer. Like I'd be happy if they were like 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Like 40 minutes without any ad breaks, I think is an hour on TV sort of thing, like with breaks. So I think 40 minutes is fine. If they're very short, I kind of feel like it'll feel a bit strange just because we're so used to watching, like, how many episodes were there? I think there was like 13 each season, or maybe
Mm.
I'm wrong, but like there was like 30, maybe 40 episodes on the Netflix series, and they were all 1 hour bangers, like flat, like 1 hour each week minimum. So like I think it would feel a bit strange to start getting those Hell's Kitchen vibes again, and then it's like bang, episode over. So here's 7 minutes of credits. I'm like,
Right.
oh, go away. So I really hope that they do more. And I think from what I kind of understand of the kind of promotion of She-Hulk itself, like they did want it to be like a 30-minute kind of sitcom kind of style, kind of courtroom drama, whereas my understanding or my guess would be that Daredevil is going to try and mimic the Netflix vibes as much as it can.
Mm.
That would be my guess.
I would love that. I definitely don't want them to have the 30-minute things. I want hour-long stuff.
Yeah.
Even though there's been a lot of Disney Plus content that's been kind of boring at an hour, I do like that when they're given time to get into things because TV is a separate thing than movies. Every episode has to feel kind of like a complete piece, or you feel kind of robbed of that, right? And so
Yeah.
you go back to like something like Game of Thrones, where everything was like an hour long, and every episode felt really good, and for that whole episode,
Yeah.
and kind of contained, but also had a broader story going on. And so I hope they do that with Daredevil, where it's not just like short pieces like She-Hulk, because I barely feel like we get into the She-Hulk episodes and it's over.
Yeah. 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 And like to be honest, like, so sometimes I think content maybe works being a bit shorter and just kind of getting to the point.
Mhm.
But like when some of these shows do short episodes, but like nothing happens, or they do short episodes, but it just feels like it's too short, I think that's a problem.
Yeah.
I think like I could sit down and watch Charlie Cox talking to Foggy, like, and they could talk for a half an hour and you'd be just engrossed. I think the two of them are so great together. I think Charlie Cox is so strong at the character. Been playing him for so long that I think he can hold up the hour episodes and keep everything entertaining no matter what.
Mm. Yeah, I agree. I agree with that completely.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Um, what content do you want to talk about next? We've got Hot D.
Oh,
We've got Rings of Power, and Andor.
Let's go Hot D. Let's get in the middle with a banger, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, the episode of Hot D that we're talking about is actually last week's episode because we record on a Sunday live here on YouTube, but the episode, the latest episode, will actually probably have aired by the time most people are actually listening to this podcast. So we're actually talking about last week's episode. So yeah, the episode for me, I loved it from start to finish. Every minute of it was fantastic. It was just, I loved all the dragons. I loved the kids trying to like pair with the dragons and stuff like that. And like, you know, I can't think of your man's name, David Tennant's son. He's Aegon, right?
Yeah.
Such a little dickhead, like, but like you just love him though, like at the same time, like, you know. And then the younger brother gets like the Daemon's dead wife's dragon, who's like, it's the biggest dragon in the entire fleet, right?
Yeah.
So like he just goes and takes it for himself. I was like, that's such a badass scene, like. And you know, I love when he's talking to the queen, and he's like, you know, yeah, I may have lost an eye, but I got a dragon, so it was worth it. You know, it was so cool, dude. It was so cool.
Yeah, it's might be one of my favorite episodes of the season so far. You know, we do shift to all the older actors in this one and the older versions of them, and the way they open it up with this long shot of Rhaena giving birth and then having to walk that baby to the queen's chambers.
Yeah,
and they just do one long take, and they don't cut away. It's like the longest take I've ever seen in Game of Thrones. It just felt like it was 5 minutes of like this very intense and personal moment with these characters I don't think you always get. They always kind of go through scenes where the guards are up, and this one it's like her guard was completely down and she was just herself. I thought it was brutal and amazing, and it just shows like how strong the show is that all of a sudden they just bring out another set and a set piece where they can do this long shot, and it just blew me away, man.
Yeah.
I felt like all the actresses and actors who came in to play the older versions of all these characters, I was kind of nervous about it at first because I did actually like all the younger version of those characters. And I thought these people took it to a whole nother level, man. Every one of them filled those roles and did it even better. And maybe so like just drew me in more. And then we got to talk about the king. The king is so like feeble. He's falling apart, man.
Yeah, dude.
Like, what is happening to him, bro?
Is this the birth of like the Ice King, like that White Walker? He
so
looks like
pale.
a White Walker walking around, dude. It's fucking crazy. All his hair's falling out. I feel so sorry for the poor bastard.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just really tough. Like, and then obviously, like, they're constantly traveling around, and he's spending days out in the ocean and all. It's like, poor dude just needs to go, and like his entire left arm is gone now, right? Like, I think he's down to like,
yeah,
I think he's got the elbow, but like below the elbow's gone. Like, so it's like he's literally disintegrating. Like, he's disappearing. He's like, it's fucking crazy. And I'm like, now with another time jump, I'm like, is he even going to be in the? I'd be shocked if he's in this week's episode, but maybe he will be. Like, I don't even know. Like, because I presume they're jumping another 7 or 8 years. He has to be dead at this stage, right? You would think. You would. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know if he's gonna be dead, but this definitely has to be it could be an episode where he dies, and it's like to show us like, hey, this is where the real story begins. I know we're getting to the end of the season, but like this is where the Dance of Dragons really happens. It's because the king dies, and there's all these people who are vying for the throne, and have legitimate claims to him. So it should be fascinating. Can I tell you? I think the character. Oh, I forget his name now, but he is the brother, the strong brother who killed his father and his brother. He's kind of like the Littlefinger-esque character of this season.
Yeah.
Wow. That like soliloquy he gave at the end, that that monologue, whatever it is, where he's like just talking about what's going on, was probably the most menacing thing I've ever seen on TV. He like the actor delivered that so coldly and brutal, and I love that character so much, man. He's becoming my favorite character in the show.
I hate him so much, like, and I'm like, but like that's what he's meant to be doing, like, he's doing his job right, because I every time he's on the screen, I fill with pure rage. Like, I'm just like, fuck this guy. You know what I mean? He's just such a shitster. And like that's it. Like, that was Littlefinger's role in the original. It's like, he'd just go and he'd be talking shit in the Starks' ears, and then he'd be off to the Lannisters talking to their ears about the Starks and all, just like stirring shit. Yeah. Like, there's always got to be one, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. No, yeah, it's great. And Daemon's wedding with Mare, like, oh, Jesus, dude. Awful.
Mare and a cousin, huh?
Yeah, but like it was like his nephew and uncle, right? And it's like the
Oh
it's
yeah, his
all
niece. Yeah.
yeah, it's all her idea though as well. Like, so it's not like at this stage, he's not throwing himself at her at all. It's all her, like, you know. So yeah, like, and what did you think of the, I can't think of the husband's name, but they faked his death and he just like strolls off and all, just going off into sea, like to go off to war, like, and he's all happy, gets his happy ending.
Yeah, I'll be sad if that's the last we see of his character. I actually thought the actor who came into play him was like really powerful,
Yeah.
and I really like the character. There's a duality to that character that I think is always works in Game of Thrones, and he could have been great going forward. So I hope that's not the last we see of him. His sister dying, like, killing herself with her dragon. What a fucking fantastic scene that was.
Yeah, that's
Um,
crazy.
yeah, just brutal, man. Then yeah, like the uncle and the niece just getting married, man. A little Kentucky two-step right there, baby. I don't know why.
Sweet home Alabama.
Yeah, so yeah, all those characters are great. I can't wait to see what they do with it tonight. Again, I kind of want the show to settle down and stop doing time jumps. Like, I'd like to spend a little bit more time not with just these characters, but like what these characters are doing in these years, and like kind of dig deep a little bit and get under the hood a little bit with the inner workings. I thought some of the best parts of Game of Thrones was like Littlefinger and the Spider and figuring out like the little plans that were going on, and we don't got any of that. It's just they're jumping so much from time period to time period that I wish they would slow it down and give us a little bit more of the stuff.
I think the breaks are going to be going on the time jump now next week. I think what you've said is probably right. I think we're going to get the death of the king in this next episode, and I think this is going to be where the all the carnage begins for who's going to actually rightfully take the throne. And I think that's probably why this episode is ranking so high already. I think it's on a 9.9. Like, that's like, it's almost perfect 10. Yeah. So I think that's, to me, that's the only kind of logical explanation to why we'll be rating so high, is that we're gonna see all out war. It's gonna be carnage.
Mm-hmm. And something else that really struck me about this episode versus while we're watching all these other shows is it's not like there was a ton of action in this episode, right? Like, it was a pretty dialogue heavy, character development heavy episode. But then we watch stuff like we're going to be talking about Andor, where there's not a lot of action either. But that feels so much worse than this. And I don't know if it's because of the characters they're creating, if it's the actors and actresses or what. Yeah. But this show does non-action so well and like makes you sit there on the edge of your seat, not knowing what's going to happen or what they're going to say, and like keeps you excited for those conversations. And I wish Disney could find writers who are able to do that for their shows, because something like Andor or even like She-Hulk should like really have you at the edge of your seat on these character-driven scenes and stuff. And House of the Dragon just does it, man. Same like Game of Thrones. Like they just know how to do it and know how to write these characters.
Yeah, absolutely. There's just something about how HBO do this. They're able to create just such well character-driven storylines, and it's even like The Sopranos was like that. The Wire was like that. Yeah. Even like stuff that's like not any of this like kind of fantasy vibes, like where it's like stories like Game of Thrones and stuff. Like, they're doing it in cop shows like The Wire. They're doing it in like gangster shows like The Sopranos. Yeah, so it's crazy.
Yeah, that's why I get annoyed when people are saying like we need more action. I'm like, I don't think you know what you want. Like, you don't need more action in these shows for them to be better. The Wire, which is one of the best shows ever made, something that you can't pull away from, they would like jump over the action. They would start a car chase scene or a shootout and then just skip to the end and not even show you it because it didn't matter. That's not what was important to this whole deal. I just wish that they would be able to do that, where they could, give us that action or give us those characters that were like, you don't want to stop watching.
Fact. Rings of Power. What did you think this week?
Oh God. Dude, I cannot watch the show. I fall asleep every time. I do my best. I literally like watch the show at 10 in the morning. I wake up, I make a coffee. I'm like, I'm not gonna fall asleep. Like, we're gonna watch the show. Yeah. I'm gonna get into it, and then I start watching it, and I'm down. I just fall asleep. It's the most boring, beautiful fantasy show I've ever watched. I don't know what the fuck is going on with this show. I don't know why it's so slow. I don't know if I talked about this on the podcast last week or not, but I literally watched the extended version of the Fellowship of the Rings, like 4.5 hours, and I did not fall asleep. I was completely dialed in to this whole thing that I've watched before. Rings of Power, I'm done. 10 minutes, I'm out, bro.
I
And
gotta say,
I don't understand.
I gotta say, I actually really enjoyed last week's episode. I thought last week's
Mm,
episode was really good. Like we saw like the kind of birth of Mordor, and I'm like, okay, this is kind of interesting. This week's episode starts and it kind of just exactly follows on from where we left off last week. And I'm like, okay, cool, let's go. We're building up. It's gonna be good. This is it. Like, this is the start of this amazing show, and then it just kind of goes to shit again. Like it's
yeah.
like how can you follow last week's episode with a filler? Like it's mind blowing to me. Like, and my girlfriend's been really a big fan of the show all the way through. Like, she's kind of maybe cutting it a little too much slack, saying that it's built to something great. It's built to something great. And last week I was like, okay, yep, she was right. Here we go. This is it. It's going to be big. And now this week we're back to just boring like character development, like just stagnant stories. Probably the most entertaining part of this week's episode was Elrond and the dwarf, like
Yes.
and like that was cool, that was good. But the rest of the episode, I could take it or leave it. Like it was just snore.
Yeah. That shows that like those two characters, like their friendship, there's something there that this show is missing with everyone else, where it's like you can tell these two characters actually care about one another, and there is drama that goes on because they have competing goals that they have to take care of and address, but it causes like a friction within their relationship because of who they are. And that is missing in every other aspect of the show, because you're right, that is the best scenes are when Elrond and the dwarf are on the screen. Plus, the dwarves are just amazing in general. It's a great, I love dwarves. I literally have like I have a Lord of the Rings key set here that's all dwarven letters. Like I'm a big dwarf nerd.
Yeah,
And man, I don't know how they make Gladriel boring. I don't know how they made Asilidor boring. Like it's insane to me how they did that.
Galadriel in the first like 2 or 3 episodes, she was a fucking badass,
Yes.
and I didn't understand the hate that she was getting at the start of the show. You know, I don't know. I still can't explain that. But, in the first couple of episodes, she was fantastic. They seem to have pulled the brakes on her extremely for the middle of the season. And I hope she has a strong end to it anyway. But I heard they've just started filming season 2. So season 2 is like literally in production right now.
Yeah, I mean, they spent a lot of money on this. It's probably cheaper for them to make another season than it is to just like write it off and not make another one. Uh, it deserves a season 2. Like it's so well made. That's the thing. Like it's very well made. It just comes down to the writing that I get really annoyed by this thing and the characters. And I think that hopefully they can take a lesson from this season and be like, what did we do wrong when it comes to the characters, and how do we actually make characters and stories that you pull people in. I could do without the entirety of the half foot thing, whatever, the little hobbit
Mhm.
creatures. Like
Yep.
every time they're on screen, I just don't even see the point, man.
Yeah.
They had a scene where there's a falling tree, and one of the hobbits goes and pushes another hobbit further into the tree instead of saying, I'm like, what is this? Like, who directed this? Where's the direction?
We went like 3 episodes without them, and I was like really happy. But then I said to myself, we're going to pay for this, where we're going to have an episode just solely about them. And when I saw them like marching along carrying their carts, I was like, oh no, this is where we pay for the lack of them in the last few episodes.
Yeah.
It's
I
just
think
not interesting, dude.
no, I think Tolkien had it right, where it's like he started his series with the hobbits, and then like once we leave the Shire or whatever, like we don't go back.
That's it.
Yeah. Like it's so like mind numbing.
Yeah.
Because even though they're like fun and kind of funny as a culture, in terms of like telling a story, they're not that compelling. It's like they're just always on the run and they don't do anything. It's just this boring, bro. It's boring.
Yeah. I think like it makes a lot of sense that you would start with the hobbits, kind of dip people's toe into the universe, and then just kind of like, okay, yeah, now here's all these orcs and elves and shit, and this is all the cool stuff. Here's some wizards and all. And it just starts getting really cool. And it's like you're following like 4 hobbits and that's it.
Yeah. Right. So overall, like I just this show, it's probably like a 5 out of 10 episode for me, man. I'm just bored out of my mind watching this show when I don't want to be. I'm a massive Lord of the Ring fan, huge fantasy nerd. This show should be like just gripping me every episode, and I just cannot stand. I can't stay awake. I literally cannot stay awake watching this show. I don't understand it.
What blows my mind is that every week it blows Hot D out of the water with ratings and stuff. It's crazy. Every single week they just have a automatic fan base, and this is obviously how they can justify spending so much money on the show, because they just know that there's going to be 100 million people watching it. Like it's just insane. And the content's just not really there. Like, you know, it's I don't know. I didn't really like the Hobbit series either. Like, I love the original three movies. That's like kind of my Bible. But other than that, I wasn't really crazy on the Hobbit, and I'm not really crazy on this. I won't be rewatching this show. Like, it's a spectacle to watch. It's beautiful to watch, but it's just not worth it.
I
You
agree.
know, it's just not worth it. Like, I'd happily start Game of Thrones again. I'd happily start House of the Dragon again. But this one, nah. I actually restarted rewatching The Witcher, and it's a lot better. I find on the second go around
Ooh,
than I found it originally.
interesting.
Yeah, like, cause I don't know. I saw there was like Netflix released this kind of 30-minute making of the first season, and I watched it, and I was like, Jesus, this is amazing. Like, I was like, just watching it being made, and kind of them talking about what's going on in the series. And I think a lot of it went over my head the first time I watched it because I'd never played any of the games or anything. I didn't know any characters or anything like that.
Mm.
And I think a lot of it just went over my head. And then, like, watching like Henry Cavill doing all the stunts and all, I was like, holy shit, this is amazing. So I started rewatching it. I was like, it's a lot better the second time around because I've actually played and completed The Witcher 3 since starting it as well. So I kind of feel like I'm a little more lived in that universe now, you know?
Yeah. I'll have to go get back and give it another rewatch, and it might be better now that like you kind of understand what's going on with
Yeah.
the show and how it's being made and what you're watching when you're watching it. Um, I remember not being impressed by it aside from the fight scenes, which I thought were pretty incredible, and Henry Cavill and his him playing Geralt is just
Yeah.
fucking the best. Like
Oh,
it's one of the best castings ever, I think.
his sword play in the show is just incredible because, like, we don't really see him fighting with swords and stuff in anything else that he's been in,
Mhm.
so like it's just incredible that he can do all that.
Yeah.
And the what's it called, the yeah, I don't know, just like the CGI and everything is great. And I'm enjoying it a lot more. It's very different to the game though, I find.
Very different from the game.
Yeah.
And Henry Cavill, we haven't seen him with swords, but he is British, so it's just kind of naturally ingrained in itself. This is a very different show than the books and the video game, which I'm kind of all right with because a lot of people knock the show for being different from the books, but
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure the author of the books hated the video games because he said they weren't really faithful to the books either.
Fair. Fair.
So as fans, I think we're a little bit selective about like what we hate and why we hate it.
Yeah, yeah.
And then if we expand everything, we're like, oh yeah, like you know,
Yeah.
the author doesn't like the video games, but we all love the video games. We're like, this is the best thing ever.
Speaking about video game content, did you watch the Cyberpunk animated series yet?
No, I need to, man. I can't
Oh,
find time.
bro, it's so good, dude.
I'm watching 6 shows already.
I know. But if you have 40 minutes to spare, right, throw on the first two episodes, and
Okay.
I guarantee you will be hooked.
Ooh.
Line, and sinker, baby. It'll get you straight away. It's so good. So good. And I'm not a big anime fan at all, and it got me straight away.
See, I'm a huge anime fan. I've been looking to get into another one, so I'm kind of
This is
pumped for
it.
that.
This is it, bro. Do you know that due to this animated series, Cyberpunk is now like the number one game on Steam right now?
I've seen this, man.
It's all because of this animated series, dude. Everyone's reinstalling the game.
Dude, it shows the power of like making content or entertainment on other types of platforms. And that Cyberpunk is a fucking amazing world. I haven't watched this thing, but I remember playing the video game just thinking how great Night City was to just be in and run around and like the characters and the possibilities in that. And I
Yeah.
always hated that like the video game just kind of didn't let me fully explore that and see all these different types of stories. I know that the DLC, like the big next expansion, I think they announced or is announcing soon. So I'm very excited for that.
Yeah. Yeah, like, I think Nova Scotian Norse from the community,
Mhm.
he's been replaying the game, and he was telling me that there is like some references to the main guy in the animated series. His name is David. Like, there's been some references to him in the game. Like, V finds out about him and stuff like that. So
Oh,
they're linking it together. Like, I'm like, oh yes.
that's
And
so cool.
they just announced the second game as well. So like they're going in, like.
Yeah, and I know somebody at my work. He reads the Dark Horse comics that are cyberpunk ones.
Yeah.
And I've heard that they said they're fucking really good. And I just never, if I don't go in on like the first issue of a run, I'm like, whatever,
Yeah.
no
Yeah.
big deal. But I've heard that those are great too. So
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I think, like, art wise and stuff, I could see myself flicking through a comic book like that and really enjoying it. I just find it crazy that this game was doing more than like Modern Warfare 2 during the beta and stuff like that. Like it's crazy, bro. And like the
Yep.
guys who made the game are like overwhelmed and just like so over the moon that like people are actually playing it now and like loving it. Like there's like 1 million active players in it right now at the moment. Like it's
Dude.
it's fucking unheard of. Like it's crazy. It's crazy.
And the game's probably finally ready for that player base. The game, although like I played on a computer like you did, and I don't think me and you ran into like big issues at all. There was issues, but like not anything ground game breaking and that made us stop. But I think the game's been updated to a place where it's like it's finally ready for a big player base to come back and experience it and be immersed.
Yeah, I think that like if they have that DLC like ready to go, they need to pull the trigger on it now while like the iron's hot, like strike while the iron's hot, because I think it would absolutely blow up now right now.
Sure.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah, absolutely. Last show that we need to talk about for the week is Andor, or Anbor, as I'm liking to call it at the moment,
Anbor.
because it hasn't been great. Episode 4, I think, of Andor was the one that I thought, okay, the tide's turned, and I think now I'm kind of seeing a Star Wars show.
Yeah.
And then this week's episode comes out, which is episode 5. It aired on Wednesday, and we're kind of just back to it being fucking boring again. I'm just like, oh, dude, like I can't believe this. Like, we've now watched 5 episodes. We're about like this week's episode. So the next episode on Wednesday is episode 6. That's going to be the halfway point of the season, and we haven't even seen a stormtrooper yet.
You're right.
Like, what the fuck? Like, it's bizarre to me. And even like when in this episode, I thought, okay, they're going to walk to the base and they're getting ready to rob the Empire's like wages and stuff for that sector. I'm like, okay, this is kind of cool. We have to get some like stormtroopers now, right? And then it's like we go in and it's just like those officers. And like anytime in Star Wars where you see those like Imperial officers, there's stormtroopers like walking around them, like all guarding them up and everything. I'm like, where are the stormtroopers? Like, I don't get it. And I don't know if they're doing this on purpose, where it's like, let's just like build up everybody's anticipation so much, and then it's like, bang, we're gonna drop it. Like, because like we're starting to see like TIE fighters now. So I'm like, okay, like they're usually like the black stormtroopers that fly them. And I'm like, okay, this like I'm feeling Star Wars. I'm feeling it coming back now, but even this week, like we watched them kind of marching and walking to the base and marching and doing their like little formations and stuff, and it was just boring as fuck, dude. I just thought like, yeah, I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't know what I need from the show. Like, I don't know if I need stormtroopers, or do I? I don't think I need lightsabers, or do I? Like, I don't know what I need the show to be, but whatever's going on right now, it's not working. Even in like Rogue One, we saw like not stormtrooper, but like the shock troopers, like right off the bat, like these goons that were walking up and like were this symbol of like Imperial like power. And you're right, it doesn't feel like a Star Wars show. It feels more like a Rogue One type of movie than a Star Wars show, but like it's a derivative of Rogue One. Like it's a watered down version of that Rogue One thing, where Rogue One didn't have like traditional Star Wars beats to it, but it still felt like it was living in the Star Wars universe. Where this thing just feels like kind of a sci-fi show. And I'm bored out of my mind. I was bored this entire episode. Before this cast, I brought up to you, I was like, hey man, you're gonna have to help me out on Andor. I don't remember what happened. You're like, yeah, nothing happened. I'm like, really? Because like I felt like that, and I was like, maybe I just missed it or I fell asleep or something. But like, yeah, like literally nothing happened this episode, and they're trying to make this like bigger overarching show. But like I said earlier, like every episode of a TV show has to be good. Everything has to have a hook, like a purpose. Like every episode has to hit for one reason or the other. And this thing just, I don't know what the purpose of this episode was.
Yeah, like I think, there was a couple of like interesting little moments in it where, you saw Andor was able to tell like which guys were like right and left handed, and like you could see his kind of strategic knowledge and stuff. I thought that was kind of interesting. But honestly, that's like my biggest takeaway from the whole episode. When the dude like grabs the kyber crystal off him, I'm like, is the Skarsgård dude, is he like, I can't think of his actual character name, but like, is he a Jedi? Is he like a Jedi in hiding or something? I'm like, that's interesting to me, but I don't think it will be. Maybe he knew one and he found the kyber crystal or some shit like that. I don't think he's actually going to be a Jedi, like, but maybe I'm wrong.
You think it's Kenobi's brother?
Yeah, I don't know, dude. I've no idea. But like I really actually have some high hopes for the like back half of this series. I think they're really gonna just it's like they're gonna flip the switch and it's gonna go fucking balls to the wall straight away. Like I really think so. Like I wouldn't be surprised if in like the last 3 or 4 episodes we start seeing Vader popping up, we start seeing the Emperor, we start seeing crazy shit happening, like space battles
Mm,
and uh like the birth of the X-wing or something like that. Like like I wouldn't be surprised if even like teenage Leia and Bail Organa, all these people start showing up. Like I wouldn't be surprised. Like we know Saw Gerrera is going to be in it. He was in one of the trailers, so we know he's coming, and he's kind of the leader of the rebellion at the time of Rogue One. So
right.
like we know it's coming, but it's just so slow. Like we're at the
Yeah.
halfway point. We haven't even seen a stormtrooper. I don't really give a fuck about the stormtroopers. I'm just saying stormtroopers are Star Wars. They're everywhere. Like the only movie that the stormtroopers aren't in is episode 1, and that's because they had the droids. And then it's like episode 2, Attack of the Clones comes along, and then it's stormtroopers, clone troopers. They're just always in the background. They're always there. It's Star Wars. And it just doesn't feel like it's. I just can't believe we're 5 episodes done. We're about to go into the 6th episode, and we haven't seen one yet. It's just weird to me. It feels strange.
Yeah. And, I know a lot of people talking about because we haven't seen characters we know. Like, oh, you just want to like see cameos and stuff. And like, that's not it. Like, cameos are really fun, but I want to see characters on screen that I care about. And in Rogue One, I never really cared about Cassian. He was
Yeah.
not the character I cared about at all. I cared about Jyn Erso, right?
Yeah.
And so they have still failed to make me care about Cassian Andor in this series. And like, they've got to do something to make me care about him. And they tried. Like, I saw his whole backstory. And for whatever reason, I'm still like, okay.
Yeah.
Like, so I don't know what that is. I don't know if it's like the actor or maybe it's just the character is not that compelling. But they need to bring in characters that like you care about whether they live or die. You care about what happens to them and the stakes that are affecting them. And none of the show has done that. Like I don't care about anyone in this show.
Yeah. And I think the best thing about Rogue One was the fact that Vader didn't show up 20 minutes into the movie, and like, the Emperor wasn't hanging around. And then when he does show up at the very end, you're like, oh my God. And we get like a hallway scene with Vader, and it's just like one of the best Vader moments ever. Like that just kind of blew me away. But, we're not getting Vader throughout the movie. And I think they're probably going to try and do something similar where it's like, we're going to be just following all these rookie fucking rebel fighters, and then boom, something massive's going to happen. Like, we're going to run it. We're going to see Chewbacca or something. Like, it's going to be something crazy.
Dude, if we saw like a young Han Solo, woo!
That'd be cool, man. I'd love him to come back. I really would. I thought he was really cool. Although
hot take, I liked him better than Han Solo or Harrison Ford. I know it's a hot take, but I actually liked him better than Harrison Ford, bro. I'm sorry.
Wow.
He's a better actor.
Do you think if they brought back him now, like, would they actually do like a deep fake like they're doing with Luke Skywalker and just like have like a young Harrison Ford? They just scrap like the Solo part.
I think they would bring the actor back in because we've seen him,
Yeah. Imagine like Donald Glover showed up or something.
Oh, it'd be the best.
Yeah, that'd be sweet. Like I wouldn't be surprised if we got something like that. Something we haven't really been thinking about just comes in to kind of like knock us out with it. Like, like I think that's what they did with Vader in Rogue One, and I think that they might do something similar. Like I did hear rumors about like Ewan McGregor showing up and doing a little piece as Obi-Wan. Like, and again, it wouldn't surprise me either. Like, because it's around the right time. Yeah,
and allegedly there's supposed to be a Lando show in the works. They've announced that. So Dan Glover has talked to him about it. He's going to be part of this. I assume it's going to be him.
Yeah.
So I think it'd be easy to get in the show.
Yeah. So like I have kind of high hopes for the show, but it's just been it's been a lot slower than I thought it was going to be. Like I can forgive the first 2 episodes of the show. 3 was like starting to come around. There was some really cool parts in 3. 4 was good. I'd say 4 was a good episode, and then 5 was just they started going backwards again.
Yeah.
And that's my fear for She-Hulk as well. Is that like we're on a high now with She-Hulk, and they could potentially ruin this season finale. Like they could just drop the ball. I don't know. Yeah, I really don't know.
I agree. Agreed, brother.
Yeah.
Disney Plus needs better writers, man. Like every show needs better writers, and I don't know if that's like a Disney thing or it's just like the cast, like just very specifically the people who got booked for these shows just didn't work out. But they need better writers on like everything they've done.
Yeah, bro. Like I just don't like, and we talked about it earlier in the cast. Like, but like Werewolf by Night was so perfect, and it was just like a 55-minute episode, or well, probably 49 minutes with like 6 minutes of credits at the end. But
Mhm.
it's like it was about 50 minutes, and it was just written really well, and it just popped. It was great,
Yeah.
And it's like, how cool would it be if we got like an hour and a half movie of just She-Hulk, like all the best bits of that show just put into like 1 hour and a half? You'd fucking love it.
Yep. Yep.
You'd love it. Same with Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Same with Loki. All these things. Like if you just had them as like TV movies, like 2 hours, boom, boom,
Yeah.
incredible, just incredible across the board. Like Hawkeye would have been a lot better as well if you cut out a lot of the bullshit. Like imagine you had like a 2 hour Hawkeye movie and like Kingpin shows up towards the end. You're like, what the fuck is going on? It'd be so good, dude. It'd be so good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
They need stuff like that.
they do. I think what they're trying to do is they're looking at a yearly calendar and they're trying to have like something coming out nearly every week of the year. I think that's what they're really trying to do. They're trying to like just stretch all the content out between Star Wars, between Marvel, and they're really trying to have something airing on Disney Plus every Wednesday or Thursday or Friday or whatever. And it's stretching it too thin.
Such a mistake, dude. Because like Werewolf by Night, I've already watched twice. I'll watch it again. Like if you give me good stuff, I'll watch it every week. Like I'll watch it. I'll go back and watch these things. Like I do all the MCU movies that I watch over and over.
Yeah.
But I have no desire to go back and watch any Disney Plus show. I did for Falcon and Winter Soldier. It was great. But I've watched one of the Disney Plus shows back one time. But I've watched Civil War, 5 or 6 times. I've watched Endgame 8 times. If they would just give us things that were shorter and better, we'd watch them over and over. I'm not going to cancel Disney. Okay, you got me. I'm in your system. Just like stop, please.
Yeah, fact. Did you get tickets during the week for Black Panther?
Dude, I did not.
Is it possible? Are they all sold out now, or can you get tickets?
I need to go look at it.
Yeah, I was like, I want to get tickets for opening night if I can. I did end up snagging some tickets for opening night, so I'm happy. It's actually coming out on a Friday as well, so it actually works really nice. So we finish the work week, get some grub, and go see the movie. Like it's gonna be great.
Yeah.
I actually got tickets for Black Adam as well.
Ooh.
And I'm kind of excited, bro. Like I don't know if you saw during the week that The Rock put up this video on, he's like him in the gym and he's like talking about how like he's like, oh, wait till you see the third act of this movie. It's like this dude is like the most powerful being on the planet, and then it's like he's looking at the camera and he's like, on this planet, and it's like he's confirming the Henry Cavill rumors, like the rumors of Cavill being in the end of the movie. Like rumor has it is he's going to be showing up in a like comic accurate red and blue suit, and he's gonna touch down at the end and be something like like Black Adam, we got to talk, because it's like I presume the Rock's gonna go crazy and like destroy half of the world or some shit in this movie. It's gonna be wild.
I'm excited for that.
I am too. I think it's gonna be a good movie.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be. I know that people are making fun of the trailer because it was kind of like cheesy and cliche, but that's kind of why I like MCU movies too. Like, so I'm like, all right, whatever.
True. And like you got Pierce Brosnan coming in and all. Like I think it could be really cool. Like I'm thinking it could be maybe a turning point for DC. And if The Rock has actually brought back Henry Cavill, like he's done the impossible. Like it's like Warner Brothers actively just don't want this dude. Like, you know what I mean? Like Henry Cavill's literally saying in interviews, I have the suit hanging up in my closet. I'm just waiting for the call. Put me back in, And it's like, the dude's perfect. He's the best Superman ever. And The Rock's done it. And they're probably going to fight in a movie against each other or something. Like, it's going to be fucking wild.
That would be so fun to watch, dude.
It really would. What other, was there any other news from the week? I'm trying to think now. I don't think so.
I feel like Marvel has not been announcing news like they used to, and I think it's because they've gotten TV stuff coming out all the time right now.
Yeah, like do you think that like when something like leaks, it's them putting it out themselves and just kind of testing the waters?
I do. I think they're very smart about like keeping their name in the media and the news cycle online.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I wonder, it's like let's throw out like a rumor that John Bernthal's back in as Punisher. Let's see how the world takes it. Like and then it's like they throw it out. Everyone's reposted. Everyone's like, oh my god, he's back. It's like, okay, now we have to actually do it. It's like, yep, let's do it. Let's sign that contract. Let's give Bernthal the money he wants because it's gonna work.
Everyone thinks that like Feige's like killing the leakers, but it's him the whole time. He's like,
Yeah.
It's me, the leaker.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly, dude. That's it. Like, honestly, it wouldn't surprise me. Because, like, I don't know about you, but I know if I was working on these projects, like if I was actually in the room while they're recording this stuff, like I wouldn't be telling anybody anything. I would want to be part of the secret, like, my friend, like, who is going to come on the podcast at some point, who's like the actor, like I would outright ask him questions about Game of Thrones when the show was airing, like, around the time of Jon Snow in the Night's Watch. I'm like, bro, is Jon Snow going to be in the next season? Like, and he's like, I can't tell you, like, I've signed an NDA, I cannot talk about it. And he's like, and I don't want to tell you, like, and I'm just like, oh, fuck you, like, I'm just like, just tell me, does he live or not, because like obviously he's recorded the next season already, and it's just like,
I can't tell you, peasant. I'm sorry.
yeah, but like that's what it's like though, and I think I would be the same. If I was working on a Marvel movie, if I was like on the set of Ant-Man, I'm not going to talk about anything. You know,
I agree.
yeah, I think it's all calculated for marketing. I saw some people like under the comments of the Rock's video, like going, "Oh my god, he's just inadvertently told us that Cavill's going to be in the movie." I'm like, "Are you for real? Inadvertently? This guy knows exactly what he's doing. It's a fucking marketing scheme." Like,
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Now,
with him.
yeah, everybody's like talking about Henry Cavill coming back as Superman now. Everyone's going to go see Black Adam for like a potential after credit scene, like a 20-second scene of Henry Cavill. I was like, this is a marketing stunt, like, and it's working because you're talking about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. So, how many episodes of Hot D are there? Is this the finale next week, or is there 10? I don't even know.
I think it's like 10 episodes. I'm gonna look it up real quick.
So we got 2 left of that. We've got 1 She-Hulk left. Rings of Power, I believe there's 2 more, maybe, or 1 more. I'm not exactly sure. So like, it's actually, I know we've been kind of saying it's been stressful with all the content, but it's a lot of it's going to come to an end like around the same weeks. Like I think Hot D and Rings of Power will end on the same week. I think Andor is going for another month or so, maybe another 6 weeks, another month and a half. So we'll have that up until December.
Yeah, it looks like Hot D is 10 episodes confirmed.
Okay, so we got 2 weeks left of that. Well, like
3.
1 week technically, because it's episode 9 that's airing tonight, right?
Yeah, the last episode we'll see is on October 23rd, which is 3 Sundays from now.
Oh, wow. They must be taking a break before the end. Because if the 9th episode...
9th, 16th, and then 23rd.
Sorry. I thought the one we just watched was the 9th, or the 8th, sorry. So that was the 7th.
How dare you? Yeah, it was the 7th.
I'm so confused, bro. There's so much to go on. I can't keep it all in my head. But yeah, like they're gonna end at the same time. And then, what do you think of like Tales of the Jedi? Are you gonna watch that?
I'm probably gonna watch it, but I'm not a huge. How do I say this? I'm a fan of the Star Wars animated stuff. I'm not an active viewer of the Star Wars animated stuff. So I'll watch it eventually, but I'm not going to be like jumping. I mean, I'll probably do it now, but if it wasn't for this podcast, I wouldn't be jumping at the seams to watch it when it came out.
Yeah, no, I think it looks incredible. Like the Dooku episodes look incredible. The Ahsoka stuff, I think like you're probably going to want to have watched Clone Wars to really like get it.
Yeah,
because it seems like you're seeing like Anakin during like between episode 2 and 3, so it's like unseen stuff from the Clone Wars show. But like the Dooku episodes are like brand new content. Like you don't need to have seen anything, which is great. That's what you want.
Yeah, like I'm excited to see these stories, but I also am not the biggest fan of like anthology type of stuff. I like a story that's connected through every episode. I like big narratives. So just seeing like little tidbits here, it's like fun. Like a cameo is fun.
Yeah.
So.
Fair. I couldn't give a shit about Bad Batch 2. Like the first season was terrible in my opinion. Like I actually gave up watching it. I had to stop. I was listening to Star Wars Theory break the episodes down. I was like, this is enough. I don't need to watch the episodes. I can just listen to him talk about them, and that's it. I don't need any more. Sure. So yeah, that's it. And do we know when the Guardians of the Galaxy special is on? I presume that's around Christmas time, like December.
Yeah, I would guess they're gonna release it like the 3rd week of December.
Yeah,
we'll see.
I'm looking forward to that now. After Werewolf by Night, I think like that could be really good because I presume it's going to be a similar enough vibe, but we're going to be seeing like Star-Lord now, so it's going to be even more hyped because it's all characters we know rather than just the unknown. So I think that could be another absolute banger. If that's like an hour special, it's gonna be great.
Yeah, I think the Werewolf by Night. I don't know how the numbers are, but if it's successful, I hope that Disney Plus leans into that a little bit more. Because it was amazing to see. Like, I don't think I need another Punisher series. I would love to see like a Punisher 1 hour thing like Werewolf by Night.
Yeah, yeah. Like little one shots,
Mm-hmm.
like team ups, one shot, like kind of TV movies.
Yeah, because
That
like
could be the
think of
winner.
how good Daredevil would have been if they would have and continue to be if they would have kept all those characters kind of in the Daredevil shows instead of like spreading them out too thin. Where Luke Cage was like kind of all right, Iron Fist was sucked, but
Yeah.
if they would have kept those characters within like the sphere of the Daredevil show and then did like little hour offshoots of it. Like here's an hour of Iron Fist. That's like a special. I think that's
Yeah.
a much better place to be than having everyone have their own TV series and you kind of water it down because even the comic books get watered down. When you're watching a sidekick of a third character in a comic book or reading about it, you're like, it's not that great, anyways.
Yeah, I agree. All right, dude. I think that's kind of us for the week. Obviously next week we're gonna have pretty much the same again, except for Werewolf by Night. So one less thing to talk about next week, but we'll probably have Alex back, so it'll probably extend the conversation a good bit more. So yeah, if you're new to the channel, we appreciate you. Everyone who was here hanging out, watching us live on YouTube, thank you very much for hanging out. And if you're listening to us on a replay, make sure you hit the like button, hit subscribe if you're new to the channel, and we'll catch you next week. Guys, have a good week. Enjoy it.
Later, everyone.
Bye-bye. Bye.
See ya.